Hello everyone, welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah Shir. We are holding in Mishnah Berurah Chelik Vav. We are continuing to learn halachos Tisha B'Av, and we pick up today on the bottom line of Chav Tes Amud Aleph, where it's Hashem will be learning today Daf Chav Tes Amud Beis. We're holding in Siman Taf Kuf Nun Beis. I'm sorry, no, we are not picking up on the bottom of Chav Tes Amud Aleph. We're picking up on the top line of Chav Tes Amud Beis, which is the page that we will be learning today. That's the daf in the Dirshu daf Yomi b'halacha. We're continuing to learn the halachos that apply to the seudah hamafsekes. So we have learned previously that by the seudah hamafsekes, the final meal that we eat before the onset of Tisha B'Av, there are certain halachos that we have to keep. We don't eat fish. We don't eat two cooked dishes at that meal. We don't bench with a zimun. Now the Mechaber says here in Siftes, Kol zeh b'seudah hamafsekes. This all applies to the seudah, which is known as the seudah hamafsekes, she'ein daitoi lechol oid achareha seudas kva. And that is the seudah that you eat on Erev Tisha B'Av when you have no intention of eating another meal after that meal. Ukishehu achachatzois. And also, the seudah hamafsekes has to take place after chatzois. So here we have two requirements over here. One is that the seudah hamafsekes takes place after chatzois. The other requirement is that the seudah hamafsekes is the meal that you eat after chatzois on Erev Tisha B'Av when you have no intent to eat another meal, another seudas kva after that. Aval, however, says the Mechaber, im haya koydem chatzois. Let's say you're eating a seudah on the morning of Erev Tisha B'Av before midday, oy achar chatzois. Or maybe you're eating lunch at 1 o'clock in the afternoon after Chatzois on Erev Tisha B'Av. But v'daitoi lechol acharei seudas kva. But you still have in your mind that you're going to be eating another seudas kva. You're going to be eating another meal. In that case, says the Mechaber, ein tzarich lizaher b'dvarim halalu. Then all of these restrictions that we spoke about that apply to the seudah hamafsekes, they don't apply to this meal that you're eating before Chatzois. Or they don't apply to a meal that you're eating after Chatzois if you still know that you're going to be eating another meal later on. Then that later meal that you're going to eat is going to become the seudah hamafsekes, and the restrictions will apply to that meal, not to the meal that you're eating now. Let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah. There's only one Mishnah Berurah here so far. Eis Katan Chaf. Says the Chavetz Chaim, V'daitoi lechol acharei seudas kva. If you eat a meal on Erev Tisha B'Av, and you still have in mind that you're going to be eating yet another meal later in the day, then the meal that you're eating now is not the seudah hamafsekes. It's that later meal that's going to be the seudah hamafsekes. Says the Chavetz Chaim, Avalam oichel achakach rak achilas aroi. Let's say you eat a meal on Erev Tisha B'Av, and you have in mind that you're going to be eating again later, but not a seudas kva. You're not going to sit down to eat a meal, you're just going to have a snack. In that case, lo nechshav l'seudah klal. That achilas arai, that snack that you're eating later, that does not constitute a seudah. That's not a meal. Vim kain, and if so, haseudah hakodemes, the earlier meal that you sit down to eat, he ikar haseudah. So that's the seudah. That's the meal that you're eating today, and that becomes the seudah hamafsekes. And then the restrictions of the seudah hamafsekes would apply to that meal. So let's say you sit down to eat a meal at 1:30 in the afternoon on Erev Tisha B'Av, and you're thinking to yourself, this is my pre-Tisha B'Av meal. This is the meal that I'm going to eat today. Yeah, I might still have a snack later. I might sit down and have a piece of cake, or even if it's not just a piece of cake, maybe I'm going to eat a piece I don't know, some well, we don't eat fish. Well, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to eat a potato knish later on. But that's not a seudah. That's not a seudas kva. That's only a snack. Therefore, the seudah that you're eating now at 1:30 in the afternoon, that becomes the seudas kva. That becomes the seudah hamafsekes. And then all of the restrictions that apply to the seudah hamafsekes apply to that earlier meal. Now the Ramah says, Hagah, O minig b'chol galilais Ashkenaz. It seems to be the minig in all of the regions of the area of Europe that we refer to as Ashkenaz. Lechol seudas kavua kaidem mincha. It has become the minig, says the Ramah, that before mincha we eat a meal. We eat a seudas kva. We eat a normal meal. Va'achar kach mispalel mincha, and then we go ahead and daven mincha. Va'oichlim seudah hamafsekes, and after mincha, that's when we eat the seudah hamafsekes. Now let's take a look right away at the Mishnah Berurah. It says the Mishnah Berurah Chaf Aleph. Va'achar kach mispalel mincha. Bedarkei Moshe, if you'll take a look in the work of the Ramah, the Darkei Moshe that's on the tour, Bedarkei Moshe b'shem Maharil, the Ramah brings down in the Darkei Moshe in the name of the Maharil, Issa, sheholchim l'beis hamedrash, the words of the Maharil are that we eat a seudas kva, and then holchim l'beis hamedrash u'mispalel in mincha, and then we go to the bismedrash and we daven mincha. Says the Chavetz Chaim u'mistama, it stands to reason that what the Maharil means is Beirach Gamkein Berkas Hamazon Mitchila, that you're eating a seudas kva before mincha, and then at the end of that seudas kva you're going to bench, and then you're going to daven mincha, and then you're going to go back home and eat the seudah hamafsekes. Now, continuing with that line of thought, continues the Ramah, and the Ramah says, "V'noyagin laharbois ktsas b'seudah rishayna." The Ramah said that we eat one seudas kva before mincha, then we bench, then we daven mincha, then we eat the seudah hamafsekes. Now says the Ramah that the minig is that first seudah that you eat before mincha, noyagin laharbois ktsas b'seudah rishayna. The minig is to eat an additional amount, to eat a somewhat larger amount by that first seudah, kedei shelo yazik lohem hatainis, so that you should be full, so that you should be able to withstand the tainus. Because after all, the seudah of Tisha B'Av is a very long tainus. It's the only other tainus other than Yom Kippur where the tainus begins the night before. So since this is going to be a very long tainus, and especially by us, we have the tainuses during the summer months in the Western Hemisphere when the day is very long. So it's a very long day, and the tainus starts the night before. So this is a long tainus. Therefore, says the Ramah, that the minig is that by that seudah rishayna, by that first seudas kva that you eat before mincha, that seudah, your marbek tzas b'seudah, you eat a little bit more so that you should be able to withstand the fast. And the Ramah says, v'yesh tzas raya lazeh, there is a little bit of a raya to this, midrash eicha, from midrash eicha rabasi, from the medrash eicha rabasi, the medrash on eicha, and they bring down the pasuk from Tehillim. The words of the pasuk just escaped me. Maybe I have it here. One second. Could be I have it here. Could be I have the words here. Yeah, it's a pasuk in Tehillim. Yasichu biyoshvei shar uneginois shoisei sheichar. So the Medrash Eicha Rabasi says that this is a remez to Bnei Yisrael on Erev Tisha B'Av when they sit down and they eat a seudah and then they go ahead and they say kinnis. So there's a shtickle araya, says the Ramah, from Eicha Rabasi to a minig to eat a little bit extra at that seudah rishayna. However, continues the Ramah, somebody who's able to pain himself a little bit, and he is self-aware and he knows that the tainus will not harm him, so he knows that he doesn't have to eat. He doesn't have to be marbek tzas b'seudah by the first seudah. He knows that he can eat even a lesser amount by that first seudah. Like the Ramah says, he can pain himself somewhat by the first seudah, and still in all, he knows that the tainus is not going to harm him. Then says the Ramah, Omachmer al atzmai, if he could be stringent on himself, Nikra Kadosh, he's called a Kadosh. Let's remember that Kedusha, the word Kadosh, is a reference to being mufresh, to being separated, and to being separated from Olam Hazeh. So if somebody has the ability, if somebody knows that he has no problem fasting, and he knows he's going to make it through the tainus without a problem, and he doesn't have to be marbek tzas, he doesn't have to eat an extra amount of a seudah on Erev Tisha B'Av, if he doesn't have to do that, he's Nikra Kadosh. Says the Chavetz Chaim at Oiskat Nechav Beis, Laharbois Ktsas, V'rabim me'achraynim ein daitam noicha bazeh. The Chavetz Chaim brings down from the Magen Avram over here, he says a lot of achraynim do not like this idea of being marbek tzas, laharbois betchila, to be marbe in the seudah rishona that you're going to eat before mincha, bekama mine tavshilin, to eat many different cooked dishes, ulehisaneg bahem, and to take pleasure in them, v'zehu ikar seudasai, and this becomes his main meal of the day on Erev Tisha B'Av, and then va'achar mincha, and then after he davens mincha, she'ena roiv, where he's b'chalal not hungry, ve'ena itzameh klal, and he's not thirsty at all, oichel, then he sits down to eat, lezecher seudah hamafsekes, he's making up as a zecher to the seudah hamafsekes. V'hu rakein seudah sarai. The Magen Avram is very not happy with this. The Magen Avram says that what happens from this minig is that on Erev Tisha B'Av, somebody goes and he sits down before mincha to make a main meal. He makes a big meal, and maybe he has soup and other cooked dishes, and he eats a nice big meal. So he makes mamish a seudah. Then he benches, then he goes to shul and he davens mincha, then he comes back and he says, oh, I gotta eat the seudah hamafsekes. He's not hungry, he's not thirsty, he washes, he eats a little bit of bread and with ashes and an egg, and he says, okay, I ate my seudah hamafsekes. So the Magen Avram seems to say, and he's coming off of a Ramban. The Ramban says that the words he uses are beten rishoim, people who have the stomach of evildoers, the stomach of rishoim, that they go and they sit down and they make a big beautiful seudah on Erev Tisha B'Av, and then afterwards they make a little seudah hamafsekes, so it looks like they're having avelus in that seudah hamafsekes, because they have a very simple meal with just a hard-boiled egg and a little dry bread and ashes and water. What are you talking about, simple meal of avelus? You just had a seudah. You just had a major seudah an hour ago. So the Ramban doesn't like this whole idea, and the Magen Avram is coming off of that Ramban. Valkain, and therefore, yesh mehem she'omer, there are those Acharonim that say, shelo yochal koydem mincha rak tavshil echad, that even in the seudah that you have before mincha, you should sort of keep the restrictions of the seudah hamafsekes. You should only have one cooked dish. V'achar mincha, and after mincha, yochal adashim le'beitzim mechanal. And then after mincha, you eat an egg, or you eat lentils, like the minute that we said for the seudah hamafsekes. Now, even though that means that you're sitting down after mincha and you're eating a second cooked dish, you ate one cooked dish by your seudah rishona, now you're eating another cooked dish of lentils or eggs by the seudah hamafsekes, he says that's not a problem. They don't combine. Well, they don't combine because it's two separate seudas. One was before mincha, one was after mincha. So they don't combine. That's the Magen Avram. The Eliyarabba kasav lahatzdik tzasas haminig. The Eliyarabba writes to justify the minig that the Ramah speaks about, which is to eat a larger meal before mincha and then to eat a seudah hamafsekes after mincha. V'zelishayna. And this is what the Eliyarabba writes. Omer ani says, I say, the kol zman shu mechaven l'shem shamayim, as long as the person who's eating is being mechaven l'shem shamayim, bekavanas hanal, dahainu shelo yazik la'atainis. The Eliyarabba says somebody who sits down to a seudah before mincha and his intent in eating a larger seudah is that he should be able to withstand the tainus and that the tainus shouldn't harm him, harishus b'yadoi. He has permission to do that. He's doing it l'shem shamayim, he's doing it for a good reason. That's not a problem. Aval al kol panim, but nevertheless, yira kol adam shalo yazbia atzma yosim midai. Somebody should have in mind that by that earlier seudah, he shouldn't eat too much. V'hachacham ein of beroshai, a chacham should have eyes in his head. He should look, he should pay attention to what he's doing. Person, when he's sitting down to the first seudah, he should look forward to the seudah hamafsekes that's going to happen after mincha, and he should make sure that he doesn't stuff himself by that first seudah, so he should be able to sit down and eat a seudah hamafsekes. Shelo yehei k'achila gasa v'arai. And not that the seudah hamafsekes should become either pashat achila gasa, where you're stuffing yourself and your mamish don't have room for any food, or it shouldn't become a seudah sarai. It shouldn't become that the seudah hamafsekes is just a joke. I'm really full and now I'm just eating a little bit. No, the seudah hamafsekes should be a seudah hamafsekes. Ad kan l'shoyna. Ubeseudah hamafsekes yuchal echal pas im tavshil v'loy mitztarfi ha'adadi. By the seudah hamafsekes that you eat after mincha, you could wash and you could go ahead and you could eat your egg or your cooked lentils, and it doesn't combine with the seudah that you ate before mincha. Because you benched in between, and you also daven mincha between these two seudas. Okay, now we go to Sif Yud. Says the Mechaber. Imchal Tisha B'Av be'echad b'Shabbos. If Tisha B'Av falls out on Sunday, so that means that you're really going to be eating your seudah hamafsekes on Shabbos. Oishachal b'Shabbos, or let's say Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos itself, v'nidchel la'achar Shabbos, so that the tainus is postponed till Shabbos. So again, in both of these cases, you're actually eating the seudah hamafsekes on Shabbos. Are there any restrictions to the seudah hamafsekes if you're eating it on Shabbos? Says the Mechaber, no. Oichel basar, you could eat meat. V'shoyse yayin, you could drink wine, baseudah hamafsekes, at the actual seudah hamafsekes that you're going to eat on Shabbos. Umalal shulchanei afilu keseudah shloima beis malchusay. You can make a seudah, mamish, you can make a feast like Shlomo HaMelech b'shaita. Miut tzarich lahafsik miba'id yom. However, you do have to realize that you have to finish this meal, this seudah hamafsekes that you're eating on Shabbos, you have to finish it by shkia. It's not like a regular Shabbos where if you wash before shkia, you could keep on eating even after shkia. Over here, Sunday is a tainus. Sunday is Tisha B'Av. Either it's the real Tisha B'Av or it's a nidche of Tisha B'Av. But either way, it's Tisha B'Av. So you have to stop eating by shkia. Says the Mishnah Berurah is cut in Chav Gimel. Eichel basar, you're allowed to eat meat. Va'asar limnaya mimenu. And adarama, not only are you allowed to eat meat, you're not allowed to refrain from eating meat if that's what you would normally eat by that seudah on Shabbos. Even though there really is no obligation upon a person to eat meat on Shabbos, nevertheless, if this person would normally be eating meat now, and he's not eating meat because of avelus of Tisha B'Av, averehi, he's not allowed to do that. You're being noig avelus on Shabbos. You're not allowed to do that. V'hine, after kosav ha'mechaber keseudah shloimai, even though the mechaber uses such a lashon over here, that when the seudah hamafsekes is being eaten on Shabbos, you could serve mamish seudah Shlomo HaMelech b'shaitoi, you could serve the equivalent of Shlomo HaMelech seudah, because makam nevertheless, yeshev b'davoi nefesh, when you sit down to eat the seudah hamafsekes on Shabbos, you should do it with solemnity. You should do it b'davoi nefesh, with aggravation. Shelo yinag b'simcha, you definitely shouldn't be noyeg with simcha, with happiness and rejoicing. This is fart, you're going into Tisha B'Av. V'lachein, and therefore lo yeshev b'seudas chaverim, you should not eat together with other chaverim. That he brings down from the Magen Avraham. B'sefer b'charshar cholik al zeh, the Sefer b'charshar argues on this Magen Avraham. The Daita, in his opinion, is the Misha Ragal B'chal Shabbos Lisay Seudah Zuim Chaverov, somebody who typically eats this meal. So let's say this seudah hamafsekes, let's say is really Shalosh Shudas on Shabbos afternoon. If he normally eats that together with a chevra, Yudav, and with his friends, Umayneya b'Shabbazu, and on this Shabbos of Erev Tisha B'Av, he refrains from doing so. Have a like Avelus b'Farhesia. Now it looks like he's being noyeg Avelus in public. Well, everybody would agree that you could eat together with your family. The Yakal Avarach Bezimun, and you could bench with a mezumin. Even though we said yesterday by the seudah hamafsekes, generally you don't bench with a mezumin. But on Shabbos you can. Came and Shu Shabbos. If a bris milah is done on that Shabbos, which is Erev Tisha B'Av or Tisha B'Av itself, Yasa seudah kaida mincha, the seudah should be made before mincha. Okay? You have to remember that you have to stop eating miba'id yom. What does that mean? Hainu kaida mishkia. Says the Chavetz Chaim that when the Mechaber says that you have to stop eating miba'id yom when Erev Tisha B'Av is Shabbos, miba'id yom means not before tzesek echavim, it means before shkia. You have to make sure to let people know this, so they shouldn't make a mistake and think that this Shabbos is like all other Shabbosos, where we could wash before Shalosh Shudas and we could keep extending our meal as long as we want. No, now you're going into Tisha B'Av, so you have to stop eating before Shkia. Says the Mechaber Sif Yud Aleph, Mi shekibel alav tainus sheni v'chamishi kol yamais hashana. Somebody who has the praiseworthy minig, that's my own word, praiseworthy, the Mechaber doesn't say it. Somebody who has the minig to fast Monday and Thursday every week of the year. There is such a minig. Va'era Erev Tisha B'Av liyos b'sheni. And now Monday is Erev Tisha B'Av. Now, if this person is going to be mekayim his minig of fasting on Monday, that means he's going to have to fast Monday night, and Tuesday. And it's very difficult. Ve'era erev Tisha B'Av liyos b'sheni, yishayel al nidroi. He should go be mater neder. He should go to a chacham and be mater neder. Yilva tanisoi. Or he could borrow his fast. What does that mean? That means he won't fast on Monday, and he'll fast a different day to make it up. The Mechaber says that in this case you could do that. Yilva tanisoi. He should borrow this tainus upareya and then repay it. So he's borrowing this tainus that he usually fasts on Monday. He's going to borrow it because he's going to eat on Monday, and then he's going to pay back the fast that he owes. He's going to fast another day. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Ois Katan Chavhei. Ve'era erev Tisha B'Av happens to be Tisha B'Av. Erev Tisha B'Av fell out on Monday. And it's too difficult for this fellow to fast on Monday to be Mekayim his own personal minig, and then to fast Monday night and Tuesday night because of Tisha B'Av. That's 2 days and an intervening night. It's too long to fast. So the Mechaber said, Yilvet Tanisa, he should borrow the fast. That means that he'll eat on this Monday, and he'll fast a different day to make up for it. Kasav HaMagen Avram, the Magen Avram writes, V'afal gav de b'simen tavkov samachesiv beis kasav the asa lilvois b'kai gavna. Later on, we're going to see that you're not allowed to do that. That if somebody was makabel on himself to fast on Monday and Thursday, he can't just not fast on a Monday and then fast on a different day. Because by being makabel that you're going to fast every Monday and Thursday, that means you were makabel a tainus on this day. You have to fast on Monday. If you eat on Monday and you make it up by fasting on a Wednesday, you weren't makayim your minig. You were makabel to fast every Monday and Tuesday. So that today you have to fast. Hacha, the Chavetz Chaim says, according to the Mechaber, the EF should be in Acher, since you're stuck and you have nothing else to do, if you're going to fast Monday, you're going to have to fast Monday night and Tuesday, and that's too much. Shari, it's mutter to go ahead and borrow the tainus and pay back on a different day. May high time, and for the same reason, Kasva Ga'inim, the Ga'inim write, De'in Tzarech Lahashlim, that when somebody who's makabel on himself to fast Monday and Thursday, and he's caught in such a situation like this, he doesn't have to complete the Monday fast. In other words, normally he was makabel to fast Monday, so he would fast until Tzesek Echavim on Monday night. The Ga'inim write that in this case, where Erev Tisha B'Av fell out on a Monday, what he could do is he doesn't have to complete the tainus of Monday. He should fast Monday, but he could break the tainus early, eat something, eat a seudah hamafsekes, and then go into Tisha B'Av. After even though normally we say that any tainus where you don't fast past shkia and fast until tzezek echavim lav shmei tainus is not a tainus. Over here, where you have a pressing circumstance, pressing need, you could do that. However, the Taz disagrees with this Magen Avram, and he disagrees with the Mechaber. He does not agree with the Mechaber. Again, the Mechaber said that you were makabel fast Monday and Thursday. Erev Tisha B'Av fell on Monday. So this year, don't fast on Monday, and you'll pay it back with a different day. The Taz is chaylik on that Mechaber. V'chein kama achronim lo hetiku es divrei Mechaber bazel halacha. They don't agree with the Mechaber, and therefore they do something similar to what the Magen Avram said. Okay, well, like the Ga'inim said. Okay, we're going to stop over here with the beginning, with the words of the Ramah, with the Hagah on the bottom of Chav Tes Amud Beis. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. Discussing limud HaTorah should be making against Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Hashem should send Yeshua's Rufus and Parnasa to all those in need, and especially the Olam should have in mind the Chalanis Penina Devora Bas Itel Freda, who's having a complicated eye surgery today. Everybody should be well.